Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Tracey, the Sacred CEO, also known Tracey Bryant. I am here at Life After Divorce Show, the number one podcast for life and love after divorce. How's everybody doing out there? I hope you are doing well on this beautiful, beautiful Saturday. If y'all don't know, I am in Atlanta, Georgia, honey, and it is full of snow. Full of snow. I want to definitely have a moment of silence for our people in California who are experiencing damage due to those fires. They said it's, I think, over 220,000 now, if not more, who homes and businesses that have been affected. So, just a moment of silence. I want to send love and positive energy to those in California. And that's my home. That's actually where I was born and raised in San Diego, California. Then I went to Louisiana, honey, and I'm a city girl with a country heart, right? I love Louisiana. So I want to come to you today. Let's talk a little bit about survivor's remorse. Survivor's remorse. And like I said, my name is Tracey. I left my marriage in 2022 at the age of 56. I left my marriage, I left my home, and I left my businesses because I no longer wanted to ascribe to being what is called the so-called good wife, the one that serves, the one that gives, the ones that sacrifices, the one that shares, the one that divides without any regard of being restored. And I recognized that I had been going through that for the first 56 years of my life. I had been giving and sharing and dividing and sacrificing and doing all of these things to people please and make everyone else happy. And I got into my marriage and continued in doing that in my marriage with my husband. And I became very overwhelmed and I burned out. I burned out. So this is the Life After Divorce show because what I'm doing is I'm sharing my actual revelations, once I have left my marriage. So, welcome. Let's talk about survivor's remorse. What is survivor's remorse? Survivor's remorse is when you and one or more people have had a shared traumatic experience. You've had a shared traumatic experience. Many times that can happen from a car wreck, it can happen from a house fire, it can happen from something like leaving your old neighborhood and your old friends, and you came into money, and now your life has changed, and you have a new way of looking at things, dealing with life, dealing access to new people, new things, a new environment. You're doing new things. You're having a great time. You're no longer experiencing the same experience as those people that you left in your hometown or in your neighborhood, or and yeah, you can have a survivor's remorse. So, what is that? That is like a heavy emotional experience, and it oftentimes is accompanied with guilt, confusion, and a sadness for you leaving or making it out of a certain experience. So if you had a car wreck and say you left the car wreck unscathed, but yet the two other people that were in the car, they received some harsh health issues. Maybe one has fractured bones, can't walk, or the other one may be in a coma, but yet you left the car accident unscathed, right? So there's something called survivor's remorse when you are divorcing. Many women and men have experienced survivor's remorse. You experience feelings of guilt. You experience feelings of confusion. You experience feelings of sadness for having or choosing to leave, right? You chose to get a divorce, or maybe even they may have chose to get a divorce, but yet you are doing better. Your life has turned out to be a beautiful, narrative, and it's beyond your wildest dreams of what you even thought you would experience once you left the marriage, right? It can be it can be a very confusing time because you're like, Why couldn't I experience this with my husband? Why couldn't I experience this with my wife? Why we couldn't experience this together? Maybe now, now that you may have an increase in income now, because now you're able to handle your own money. You don't have to, share your money. You don't have to share maybe, your home. You don't have to share your ideas. You don't have to share your time. Everything is all about you now. I know for me, that's what's going on. Everything is all about me. I don't have to share anything with a spouse, husband, lover, mate. I can choose to share what I want to share with who I want to share it with when I want to share, and that is in a different kind of freedom, So being free and being able to express yourself freely, right? I don't have a curfew. I don't have to call. I don't have to, I don't have to compromise. I don't have to look out for anyone else's feelings and all of that. I don't have to do all of that. I can just live the way that I need to live. Now, let me be very clear. For those of you who don't know, who haven't looked at some of my previous videos, when I left my marriage, I was very much in love with my husband. Very much strongly in love with my husband. So there was some survivor's remorse. There was some feelings of guilt for leaving. There were feelings of confusion, and maybe if I could have did X, Y, and Z, maybe it would have worked out better. Maybe I jumped the gun when I left the relationship. All of these things I thought about. I thought about, was I right in leaving? Was it fair? And then when I play the whole tape back and I look at some of the things that I did endure that were very unfair to me. Some verbal abuse, some getting too physical, where it was going into physical abuse, going into, the emotional outbreaks that he was having as far as anger, the rages and things of that nature, the gaslighting and the head games and all of that, the lying, the inconsistencies with his word and what he needed to do for the family and all that. When I think about all of that and releasing all of that, it helps me to get through whatever guilt and sadness that I'm experiencing about leaving the marriage. Okay. But it doesn't alleviate the sadness. It does alleviate the guilt. Okay, because I have to play the whole tape back. I have to play the tape back to where I wasn't appreciated, where I was misused, and where I was made to feel bad about being the loving, generous, and happy person that I was in the marriage and sharing all of me in everything. I was made to feel bad about that. So when I play that back, I don't feel the guilt as much as I did when I first left. When I first left, I felt guilt because I felt like maybe I could have did some things different. Maybe, am I supposed to work it out? Am I leaving too soon? Like all of these questions, I had all of these questions. Was I not considered a good wife now because I choose to leave the marriage, because I choose divorce? Like all of these questions came up for me. However, I am saddened. I am saddened at the fact that we couldn't get it together so that we could make that thing work, because there was one point in time in that marriage where it was love, beauty, bounty, and blessings. There was a time in that marriage where we had the abundance of all of the things, right? But then I had to really go in and say, what am I worth? What am I worth, right? What's my worth? How do I feel about myself? Do I deserve to be treated other than what I feel and feel I deserve to be treated? Hell no, no. So it was easier as I kind of talked myself through it and I prayed on it and I went to God and we often get this messaging that God hates divorce and all of that. I think they put that into place because God told me personally. Now, this is my God. Everybody got their own personal relationship with God, okay? My God told me personally, I never said that. I never once said that I frown on divorce. I don't want anyone to make you feel unworthy. I don't want anyone to add any unhappiness to you because I love you. You are my child. And I want you to be happy and I want you to feel worthy because you deserve it. And once I got that confirmation from the Most High, I was good. But I still had a sadness because why? I really wanted and desired for my relationship to work. I desired for my marriage to work. I desired to be happy. I desired to grow and shine and elevate and work on the legacy of our family. I truly, truly desired that. So there is a sadness there. And there was some survivors' remorse. Now, why did I have some survivors' remorse? Because now I see and I'm very clear about what I need to be doing in my life now as a single woman. And I'm happy that I am enjoying this newfound freedom. And then I look back on some of the things that he may have done or didn't do, and I get saddened by that. I get saddened. I feel for him. I do. Because like I said, when I left, I was in love. When I left, I was deeply in love, and it was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. I had to choose myself over the love of someone else, and it was rough. It was so rough. And that alone makes me feel sad, right? So, when you share a traumatic experience such as divorce, and you sharing that, and you as the one that chose to leave and get divorced, and now you have found a newfound happiness and a new life, and you created a new narrative for yourself, and you've reinvented yourself, and you are genuinely happy from the inside out, yes, it can cause some sadness because you can look at your spouse many times and see that once you left, they didn't elevate. They may not have evolved, right? They may have even gotten like they aren't doing as well as they was doing when the two of you were together. You can see it, you can feel it. If you are really connected to your husband or your wife, you can feel when they're not doing good, right? Some go, you leave them and they get with a new person, because you got to remember, especially being feminine energy, most men look at women as resource and supply. That our feminine energy feeds them. It helps them to survive, right? Yes, but then I would want the best for him, but I wouldn't look back. That's it. And I do want the best for him. I did want the best for him, and I do want the best for him. However, I still can feel and I still know that, okay, something's not right, right? You can tell. And I didn't go back to his Facebook page. I didn't go looking to see what's going on with him and all that. Once we cut, we cut. He actually ghosted me for the first 2 years. For the first 2 years, like we probably talked maybe 3 or 4 times, and was very, very briefly, which was good. And I think he may have ghosted me, one, because he may have been angry about me leaving, and then two, there may have been some shame there, right? But either way, I know with him ghosting me, it helped me to evolve and reconnect with my needs. It helped me to go to therapy and do the work that I needed to do to get myself together. So even though he ghosted me, and many people can look at that as a bad thing, that somebody ghosting you, girl, when they disconnect from you, you better look at that shit as a blessing. Because if they keep connecting with you in certain ways and you still love them and they still have that access to you, you'll still be giving of yourself. You'll still be sharing your resources. And next thing you know, you'll be in this repetitive abusive cycle that you find yourself that you just can't get out of, right? So Them disconnecting from you and ghosting you is not a bad thing, honey. Look at it as a gift. Yeah, you're going to be wondering, like, why haven't they called me? They didn't care. They didn't care as much as I did. They didn't love me. You're going to go through all of that. Honey, get through it. Don't be trying to reach out to them. Don't reach out to them, because listen, if they want you, they're going to make the changes and do the appropriate things that they need to do in order to get you back, period. Let me tell you, that lip service, them words, they don't mean nothing. Apologies come with change behavior, period. Apologies come with changed behavior. Understand me. Those words, I love you, baby. I miss you so much. You know I can't make it without you. Yeah, I love you too. But have you worked on your anger issues? Have you worked on your childhood trauma? Have you worked on how you know the way you communicate with me, how you talk to me, how you disrespect me in public? Have you worked on all these things? And you know, got some of them that's gonna lie to you. But yeah, baby, I started going to therapy. Once I left you, I started doing the work and this and this and that. Don't jump right into it. Sit back and watch. Let's make sure they give you some proof, and still don't jump into it, because many times they will choose to do something that you've been calling them out to do, like go to therapy, deal with their childhood trauma, deal with their anger issues. They'll go work on it while you're gone, just to get you back, as a ploy to reel you back in, right? So be very mindful of that. You're gonna have to defend and protect yourself. You're gonna have to protect yourself, your mind, your spirit, and your body. You are your number one protector. So you got to protect all those components. So don't go for the okey doke, okay? So let's talk about how to get through this thing called survivor's remorse, where you feel guilt and confusion and sadness because you had to walk away, and because you are living a happier, more fulfilled life than the people you were in relationship with. Okay, first you want to acknowledge your emotions. Give yourself permission to feel. It's okay, like how I'm acknowledging my emotions right now. And I told you, I feel sad for him. I feel sad for him. Why? I love him. I loved him. At one time, I was really in love with him and wanted the best for him and wanted to share my love, my kindness, my grace, my everything. I wanted to share everything with this man. So yes, I'm going to acknowledge that I'm saddened that we could not do that together like I would have liked to, that we just couldn't make that thing work. But I'm also going to give myself permission to say, I'm sad about that. And not only am I sad about that, I'm mad about it. I'm mad at him. I'm mad at him for not doing what he said he needed to do when he needed to do it, so we could have stayed together. Because see, now I done felt and tasted my freedom and ain't no coming back, right? All right. So acknowledge your emotions, give yourself permission to feel, and understand that your survival is just that. It is your survival. So you need to protect yourself. You need to protect your feelings. Don't let them spin the block and come play with you. Don't let them come play with you. You got to own your power. And if that means you have to detach yourself and disconnect so that you can restore your power and stand 10 toes down on what you mean, what you say, and what you feel you worth, you're going to have to do that. Your survival is just that, your survival. Okay. Reframe the narrative. Reframe the narrative. Survivor's remorse comes with the belief that there's something else you could have did to save the situation. There's something else I could have did to save the marriage. I should have did this. I should have did that. Well, you know what? I'm over that. You know why? Because I know my last exhausting effort was to go to marriage counseling. We went to 2 sessions and he told me he wasn't going back anymore. And I was very clear in telling him, honey, this is my last recourse in this marriage. If this doesn't work, I'm gone. I was very clear. So Hey, I put it out. I laid it. I put it on the floor. I laid it on the table. I told him. So he said he wasn't going back. That was another nail in the coffin that said, I'm out. I'm gone. Right. So reframe the narrative. Survivors understand that you couldn't have prevented anything. What it's going to be is going to be. And if you feel that you are not being uh, sh- uh, honored in the way you need to be honored in a relationship that you are giving, sharing, and loving, then hey, you have to do what you have to do, right? Benan says, I should have left the relationship over 20 years ago. Yeah, I actually stayed like 2 years too long. I stayed 2 years too long, doing my best to work it out, doing my best to try to just find something to stay for. You be your last year or two, you just be trying to find stuff to stay for, because you feel like you've invested so much in the relationship. You've invested time, you've invested money, you've invested love, you've invested your body, but you start understanding and knowing that things start happening where you're no longer feeling like yourself. You're weak, you're depressed, you have high levels of anxiety. For me, I was having, menstrual issues, and, like my body was being inflamed. Why? Because I was highly stressed all the time. So remember to honor the good memories. You're gone now. You've separated. If you can be friends later on, some years later, y'all could get together and laugh and talk. Maybe you've moved on with other people. That's a beautiful thing. But most definitely, in order for you to stay in good spirits, don't keep focusing on the bad points of the relationship, the negative experiences of the relationship. Remember to honor the good memories, honor the laughter, honor the time when the family got together and y'all, shot pool, or you made some food and everybody came out and you did shots and you played cards, or honor the time when you went and traveled and y'all went to the Bahamas. Honor all of those good memories. You want to stay positive because guess what? It wasn't all bad. At some point, you had some fun times, some good times, some laughter, right? Honor those good memories. And most of all, give yourself compassion. Be compassionate to yourself. Survivor's remorse often involves very harsh self judgment. You get very critical of yourself. You want to scan and go through everything with a fine tooth comb of what happened or what didn't happen. And you want to stay in that little negative cycle on the hamster wheel. No, no. Give yourself compassion. Treat yourself with the same love, care, and compassion that you would treat somebody else. That's what you want to do. You want to treat yourself with that same love, care, and compassion that you would treat somebody else who may be going through a hard time. Because remember, you have to nurse your heart back to health. You have to nurse your spirit. You have to increase your self-love muscle right now. Okay? So don't feel remorseful. Don't feel high levels of guilt, shame. Don't feel high levels of sadness when you know you've had to choose to leave a marriage because it was an extremely unhealthy situation. I am Tracey, the Sacred CEO, and there is life in love after divorce. If you'd like to join us at our private exclusive community for women over 40 who have been divorced or are going through divorce, you can find us on Facebook at the Rebirth Collective Community, the Rebirth Collective Community. Why the rebirth? Because we're like butterflies right now. We are being reborn, right? We are creating a new narrative, and we're learning how to live solo and live for ourselves and choose the goodness of being okay with being divorced and not being married and not being part of the programming of having to be a servant, right? For me, that's how I started feeling. I was feeling like I had become a slave to the marriage, and it pained me because I never want to become a slave to anything. I want to do something with love, joy, and purpose, not because I feel obligated in regret because sadness and depression and anxiety. So we have to learn how to change the narrative. So come on over to the Rebirth Collective community on Facebook and let's change the narrative together. If you'd like to join us on our email list, go to lifeafterdivorceshow.com. Now make sure you go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell so that you can know what's going on and when we're going live. And also and if this brought you some value, make sure to share it with a friend. Peace and blessings. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm out.